Good morning. Welcome to New Center Maine's Political Brew. Glad you could be with us this morning. We are joined by longtime radio host and attorney Ken Altshuler and Ray Richardson of, what's that call letter again? Oh, WLOB Radio. Good to see you both this morning. Let's get to it. A lot going on. Portland elected a charter commission this past week to make proposals for changing the way city government is run, and the progressive candidates won a solid majority on the 12-person commission. The goal of some members is to abolish the city manager position in favor of a strong elected mayor. Ray, what do you make of the outcome of that race?
Well, I think, first of all, you've got to look at the percentage of voters that voted. 7.7%, which means 92.3% of the registered voters in Portland just didn't care enough to show up. I think that's a problem. In terms of the slate, they were smart. They were strategic. I won't take that away from them. And they got out there and worked hard. Ethan Stremling was a big cheerleader for it. And so they coalesced a small group of people to be motivated and go vote, and they did.
You know, when the first Charter Commission recommended a strong mayor, I supported it. And that was a mistake. And I regret that. I think that, and as much as I love my brother, Ethan Stremling, I think that the two leadership system doesn't work. And I, as we'll talk about later, I believe John Jennings, I have incredible respect for. I think a city management system is a smarter way of doing it. I don't like token mayors. But then again, you can't have two leaders at the head. And there was so much conflict between the mayor, particularly Ethan and John Jennings. So Ray's completely right. This is a lesson why we shouldn't have elections in June. People don't show up to vote unless you feel passionate and you have a turnout from people who have a special interest in it. And I think that's the fallacy here. I didn't like the process. I think it's a mistake. I think we're going to suffer from it. I think it's unfortunate.
And Ken, as you alluded to, one of the people newly elected, Nasreen Sheikh Youssef, who's a Somali American, took to Twitter after her victory to call city manager John Jennings a white supremacist. Is it appropriate or useful to attack the man who holds the city manager position as a way to abolish that position, Ken?
It is not appropriate to call anybody a white supremacist unless they're a white supremacist. John Jennings is anything but a white supremacist. I know him. I respect him. It's outrageous. And particularly when you get elected and you're in an elected position and you're using that to advance your agenda, as you mentioned, Pat, completely inappropriate. Fight against a city manager role and position if you want to. Don't use personal attacks to get rid of a system like that. It is outrageous. I absolutely believe she should resign. I think it's just somebody in that position with great power comes great responsibility, and she has shirked hers. It's outrageous. It's very offensive, and I think she should resign.
I could just say ditto, because Ken is completely right. I know John personally. I've known him for years. No one has worked harder to try to advance all people in the city of Portland. This young woman, I guess she wants to be the Ocasio-Cortez of Portland, be a big flamethrower and actually get nothing done. John Jennings is not a white supremacist, but she did one thing for me. I've said this forever. People that hurl the word racism repeatedly, and that's what she was doing, are typically dealing with racism in their own heart. And I think she exposed her hand. I think they elected a racist. I think she should resign. And if she doesn't, I think there should be pressure on her by the other members, because she's going to taint this process by her really offensive actions.
In Augusta, Maine lawmakers are scrambling to meet a deadline for adjournment on Wednesday. There's lots of business, including the second part of the new state budget for new or expanded spending. Ray, what are the prospects for a true bipartisan budget agreement?
Yeah, I think there are some areas of agreement, with broadband expansion. We all know that, like a quality educational experience, that's a great economic equalizer. And I think, we don't have agreement, frankly, on other areas of infrastructure. The governor proposed very little money, I think $50 million. Maybe she's hoping for federal money. I don't know. The governor has not yet explained why throwing $187 million at public education is a good idea. She's going to do it, but she hasn't explained what she expects that money to do to improve the educational system in the state of Maine, other than spending more money. So I think the effort of a bipartisan budget like the last one is probably not there.
I'm more optimistic than, and that's because there's a lot of federal money coming in. And when you have a lot of money, when you're flush, you can accomplish a lot more in a bipartisan manner. See Angus King. And so I think that there may be more bipartisan support. You know, we talked about exactly what Ray just said, broadband. That's something that the Republicans have gone on to. Municipal sharing, fund sharing. So some of those things that Republicans have taken a different position now than they have in the past, and a desire to be collaborative may cause them to do something. Now, you know, when you're in power, to the victor goes the spoils. You know, the Democrats will flex their muscles if they have to. I hope not. I would love to be an example of bipartisanship. I'm hopeful that'll happen. I can't say Ray is wrong. I'm hoping he's wrong. How's that?
Maine lawmakers have overwhelmingly backed a bill to open primaries to unenrolled voters. Ray, are you surprised by the bipartisan support for this? Some worried about the effect on the parties themselves.
Yeah, I'm going to make a lot of friends with this one. Again, it's just more weak Republicans supporting a very bad idea. This is nothing but welfare for voters. And here's what I mean by that. If you want to do this, just abolish the parties. But if you're going to have a two-party system or a three-party system with the Greens, then don't go in and just let people who have no skin in the game, who don't volunteer, who don't contribute money, come in on election day and upend all the work that's been done. I think this is one of the dumbest things I've seen. And I've heard some Republicans say, well, this is a way to engage unenrolled voters. No, it's actually the opposite, because they can come in and vote in a primary having nothing to do with the party, and then they leave, and that's it. This isn't an engagement. This is ridiculous, and I'm very against it. And I wish some Republicans would wake up and realize how dumb this is.
Ken?
Well, I'm going to lose more.
Follow that, man.
Well, I'm going to lose more friends than Ray's going to lose, because I agree with him. The primary system is a system for parties to elect who they want to represent their party in an election. So join the party if you want to select who your party is going to advocate and put forward as a candidate. You don't have people going in. I mean, I shouldn't go into a Republican primary and vote for the weakest candidate so my Democratic candidate can win. That's not what the primary system's intended to do. So abolish parties if you want. I agree with Ray. Primaries are a party function. Keep it with the parties, register to the party, vote for who you want. And it's just an incredibly abuse of the process. I don't understand it. I have to say with Ray, stupid idea.
President Biden will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin this week. Some say the timing for this summit is wrong. There's debate about that. But let me ask you, Ken, what would you like to see come from this meeting between Biden and Putin?
Well, first of all, I don't understand why the timing is ever bad. Anytime you need to meet with Vladimir Putin or a leader of any country, you do so. And I think Donald Trump was actually pretty good at that. So I think it's fine to meet with him. I'd like Joe Biden to confront him about Russian interference, Russian hacking, be it the Chinese government or the Russian government. We know Russians interfere with our computer systems. I'd like somebody to take a stand. And I'd like somebody to say, stop doing this. We're going to punish you if you keep trying to interfere with our voting system. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll be political. They'll shake hands. They'll smile. They'll have frozen faces. But I'd love to see a real leadership position being taken by Joe Biden. I don't know if he's capable of doing that. I'd love to see that.
Ray?
I hate to say it, but I could say ditto again. Ken, I don't know what's going on here.
Mind blown.
I agree with him completely. I don't think there's ever a bad time to be speaking with a foreign leader. The more we talk, the less we fight. And Ken's absolutely right on this hacking issue. We understand recently the federal government recovered some of the ransom paid for the Colonial Pipeline. They clearly know where the money was. So Joe Biden could be speaking with Vladimir Putin and seeing what we can do. Putin says that if it wasn't Russia, it wasn't government sponsored. Okay, fine. Then help us determine who it is, and let's work together and get rid of it. Whether Biden has that capacity or not, I don't know.
This past week in Augusta, the Maine Senate voted in favor of a corporate campaign contributions ban, which would block corporations from contributing to individual legislative candidates or legislator-controlled PACs, also known as leadership PACs. Ray, is it right to ban corporate donations and you don't ban union donations?
Well, of course not. This is just hypocrisy on the part of the people sponsoring this bill. I'm a great believer that if the court holds that money is speech in a political campaign, we should not be limiting speech. What we should do is require absolute transparency that all donations, no matter how big or small, have to be reported and public within 24 hours. But in terms of the bill in Augusta, first of all, a union is a corporation. It's a different kind of corporation, but it is a corporation. And this is just an opportunity to go in because corporate money often goes to Republicans and union money often goes to Democrat. It's just another way to create an unlevel playing field. I'm not surprised at all they're trying to do it.
What say you, Ken?
Pat, I think you picked topics just to have Ray and I completely agree with each other. I was going to say ditto, but I'm not going to say that. But I agree. Look, the Supreme Court has said that corporations are citizens and can give money to political campaigns. This is not going to be constitutional until that kind of policy changes. And I agree with Ray. The issue is not who gives the money, but who's behind the scenes giving the money. I want to know who gave that $1 million to beat Susan Collins, or who gave that $1 million to get ranked choice voting. That's what's important. So I agree with Ray. If you're not going to stop dark money, or you're not going to stop the flow of money, and it's going to be virtually impossible to do so, know who's behind it. And I don't think you're going to successfully keep money out of campaigns because the Supreme Court has made sure that's not going to happen. Like it or not, we're stuck with that. Let's know who's contributing to those campaigns.
I think we'll find some daylight between the two of you on this topic, and that is former Governor Paul LePage looks very likely to make the run for governor again next year, reportedly planning LePage 2.0 with more focus on issues than his familiar, aggressive, bombastic style. Ken, what would be his path to victory over Janet Mills?
Well, first, I'm not sure a leopard can change his spots. I like Paul personally, and Donald Trump made me view him much more rationally than I did when he was governor. I don't know why he wants to do this, but great, focus on the issues. I think he's got a hard road to hoe because we have a history in Maine of re-electing governors for a second term, even if they weren't particularly successful in the first term. And Janet Mills has got a huge amount of money being handed to her by the federal government that can make her look like she's taking care of everybody in the state of Maine, and it's not coming out of Maine budget. So I think it's going to be a very difficult campaign for him. I think he's very popular. If he keeps their rhetoric down and isn't so bombastic, then maybe he has a shot at it. But I'm not sure he can avoid doing that. So frankly, I still say Janet Mills will get reelected. I think that'd be nice to have a different candidate running. I'd like fresh blood. But if that's who the Republicans want, God bless them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Governor LePage has an excellent shot to come in and take this back. At the end of the day, most people who pay attention realize that if the federal money had not flown into the state of Maine, Governor Mills would be in a big mess financially. She's mismanaged the state budget. She is way overspent. He seems like a man who has gained a lot of perspective over the last 2 years, not being in office. He's coming back to do one thing. Maine's economy was on a good track when he was leaving office. Governor Mills has undone a lot of that. I think he wants to come back because he has a great love for the people of Maine and the state, create an economy where people can prosper. And that's what his purpose is. If he focuses on that, I think he wins.
We shall see. All right, let's wrap up with our winners and losers in politics this week. Ray, we'll start with you.
I was afraid you'd do that because I don't have either. I feel very positive. You know, the weather here in Maine is great. The masks are gone. The crowd limits are gone. I guess it's the people that are the winners here. I am just so hopeful for the next 4 or 5 months in this state. We're going to see the tourism industry rebound. I've spoken with many people in that industry. They are so optimistic. I know my wife and I are looking forward to getting out and doing stuff with our family and listening to live music. So maybe that's it. The people of Maine and the people of the country, because the country is getting back to normal.
And Ken.
And actually, I agree with Ray. My winners of the week is the people of Maine who are now entering nice weather and a real booming resurgence of the tourist industry. I've been seeing restaurants open, people walking around the streets. People still wear masks sometimes, but sometimes they don't. So I think we are the winners. The losers, I think, are the city of Portland with what happened in the election with the Charter Commission and a young woman who is doubling down, calling a very good man and a very good city manager white supremacist. Shame on her, and shame on Portland for having a 7% turnout on a fairly important voting referendum. So they're the losers of the week are the city of Portland and the people, those citizens.
Pat, you're not going to like it, but I am going to have to agree with Ken again.
That's enough. You're never coming back, either of you.
And Pat, you're the winner of the week because you have Ray and me agreeing with each other.
That's true, and they thought it could never be done. Ken Altshuler, Ray Richardson, thanks for being with us. Thank you for joining us as well. We'll see you next time. News Center Maine is back after this.